Hey, this is Dr. Siege with Villainous Gaming, and we are signing in.
Yeah. Blue Steps dead. I got my cruise.
There's one in right there. There's one right there.
Backside candles.
I killed 1 point.
Front. There's two front. Good kills.
We are here with Villains Dr. Siege, and I guess the first kind of question we have is, how did you get your start into gaming? If you want to go ahead and talk a little bit about that.
I first started on the PS2, playing Star Wars Battlefront 2. I had a neighbor, who was like, when I was in kindergarten, I was going against second or third grader and a high schooler at it. And that's when I started like learning that I was a little above average at games at that time. And I later went into, like, over the years, I got into the Wii with Mario Kart, Smash Bros, different, and just some fighting games. And then I really got into shooters with BO1 on the Wii. Back when MW3 was out. And that's when I first really get into COD, learning how to just maneuver that kind of map and that kind of game. It was just very different from my typical gaming background at that time. The following year, I got Black Ops 2 on the PS3. I started pub stomping, and I started really learning, like, in the FPS genre, that I was way above average. I continued on playing Call of Duty, got it, like, my first like 30 kill streak up in AW. Started playing some rank play with a little squad. It's just like a little 3-man squad. We just run shit. 3v4ing almost any team we came across at S&D. But yeah, it was just disgusting, honestly. And then BO3, I became a pub stomper, and I developed my YouTube channel. At that time, Marksman probably doesn't really know this, but I started off with the YouTube name Villainous Gaming, which is Japanese for out of control. And I became, I started dropping nuclears on, and posting those. Some pretty good gameplays on there at that time. And then I took a 4-year break, and due to a lot of family issues, and then like my first 2 years of work, I just became really busy, and I just wasn't around any gaming in general during those 4 years. I got MW19, and in January of its release, right? And I start learning how to play Claw pretty much right then. So as you can imagine, 4 years off the sticks, coming in learning Claw when I used to play like normal, you know, basic gamer grip, playing stick and move back in the day. I'm now playing Claw on default, and just a couple weeks later, I got scouted by, as some would know, Madison McKenzie, which is Bitch Kill and Love Wins, with Rogue Gaming. I started learning how to play competitive with them, and then I was really good with S&D. That was like my main game mode at that time, just because I didn't really have like the correct movement at that time. I was kind of clunky, but my shot was really good and my reads were really good. So I was put in that as the fifth man that would flex between AR and SMG, depending on the map and the circumstances. Then I competed through the rest of that season with them. With inter-org tournaments, we had like, I think 8 teams at that time within the org. Then the org kind of disbanded. They made corrupt shots. I made a squad going into Cold War, and that squad didn't really stick together. Sure, it was probably like a month. There's this YouTuber named Klext at that time. I made some videos with the guy, being featured on his channel, whether it be a watch party or a tips, or just a breakdown kind of video or stream. And we were in the Discord server. I saw that you were looking for a squad. I kind of hit you up from there. And I decided to take a chance.
Yeah, little did you know we couldn't play Call of Duty, but
right. I kind of became a player coach, almost like a drill sergeant in a sense. I kind of at the very start, I was kind of a one-man machine, and then you started coming into your own. Zoe slowly started coming into his own. Nightshot started playing his role, and then we slowly became a dominant. I want to say dominant squad, dominant enough ranked squad. And just teaching y'all just like the basics, really, and really like the basics of the basics. And then, during that time, you kind of already had the org made, and I wasn't really doing any kind of managing or any kind of hands-on with org itself.
So basically we had some discussions about the branding and just the org as a whole, and pretty much at the end of all of that bullcrap, it ended in you and Nightshot left for a short time. I kind of just stopped with it for the off season because I didn't really have a team, and so that was kind of the fall of Toxic Gaming. I was sitting around and I'm like, I was kind of done with it. I took a month, regain a little bit. Then I started coming up with the new branding, and then I was kind of just still sitting around with no team, and I kind of hit you back up about coming back. I pitched the new branding and kind of pitched a more more managerial role. You're not like out of competing, but you have more of a part in the org as a whole. Is kind of where that went, and then you decided to come back, and then we went to the Vanguard year. Your experience with that year was kind of a longer tail than mine, obviously, so I'm sure you have a good bit to say on that.
So, yeah, and I mean, I even like the disagreements, man. Like it was pretty civil between me and you. You know, I spoke my opinion because I mean, I honestly didn't. Just to put this on the record, I didn't necessarily believe in the brand itself. I believed in the potential of the squad, like the group, right? But just the branding, I didn't think it was going to let us take it far. And with the rebrand, you know, I truly believe, you know, that helps, or like the org brand grow, and let our names and our in their position grow as well. Just on that little side note, but the Vanguard season, man, the very start of it, Mark wasn't competing. He was working on figuring out some school stuff during his senior year of high school. Zoe moved on. So it was me. So the first squad was me, Night Shot, Elemente, and Tempesta. And we also had Frizz. Demente and Tempesta we got to know towards the end of Cold War a little bit. They stopped communicating with us for a while. Kind of went like radio silent, and then, but Frizz I got to know during that time, like my time away from the org. I got to see how she played a little bit. I saw a bit of potential if we taught her correctly. There was like a good month or two of me playing with that squad, probably a month, probably closer to a month. And I told Mark, I'm like, buddy, I need help.
And honestly, I think that's kind of the point where I was like, around when I got my injury in baseball, and I was like, well, I'm kind of free now. So I came back, and then we picked up Reflectory. But yeah, so with that second roster, kind of, like I said, I talked about my experience on mine, you know, kind of talk about yours, because you kind of had even after the first little hiccup with the first team, you kind of had a bumpy road through, you know, the rest of the season.
Yeah. So, I mean, I feel like my potential for Vanguard was really high. But I don't think any of the rosters was a natural fit at all. Like Mark was a good AR for us. But with Reflectory, you know, with how he played, it was yeah, and it the pacing was just wonky. Especially between myself and Breach, because you got me, who's a little bit more fundamental, but will be more than willing to fly at players. But if I'm like, because I'm naturally like an aggressive player, but whenever I'm matched with another aggressive player that doesn't, you know, that just flies like Breach was, I tended to had to stand back in a sense and play a little bit more of an OBJ role, which isn't like a natural fit for me whatsoever. I made it work the best I could, but it was just really uncomfortable, and I really never got used to it through the season. Uh, and then later on in that season, I mean, for the first couple of matches we had, we got throttled. We won maybe a map or two in like 4 series, if I had to guess. And then I got in a wreck. I had whiplash. I got rear-ended. It was a 4-car power up. And the injury affected my back, my neck, my shoulders, and through my whole right arm. Really affected my right thumb, my right pointer, and right middle fingers. And I played with it tried it out for a little bit, but I held on until they got a new fourth. I brought it up with Mark. I'm like, hey, y'all might want to start looking, because I don't know how much longer I could do it. And I figure, a player change would probably benefit the team anyways. So I decided that it'd probably be best to take a step down. And then once that happens, I started coaching the academy team and playing with them a decent bit. I had to hold back a decent bit when I was playing with them, but if that was a very off time to me. And I think for the roster as well, just both rosters. Like the academy team I was helping was slowly improving as I was coaching them. But I think from my understanding, the main roster kind of really struggled and just became completely gassed by the time I came back. It just...
Yeah, that's
like
pretty
everybody...
fair assessment of that, because you came back and we pretty much... When you came back, we split into 2 teams. Breach and Reflect went... I forget who they picked up. I think it was Accusings in reality, and then you came back with me, Zoe, and then we had to find a 4th. We kind of never found the 4th. We were just using whoever.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that kind of concluded Vanguard.
Yeah. Though I will say I had a couple of pop-off maps, but during that time, and then I taught Mark a little bit about running an SMG, and because we were discussing, Mark had the idea of being my SMG duo and seeing how that went at the very beginning, and just to see, just to test it, and we just ran whoever was in front of us, and that's when I really felt comfortable with the game. Which is kind of crazy, because I'm like, yeah. And Mark and I discussed, if we did that in the beginning of the year, we might have had a little bit of a different season.
Right. And like you said, towards the end of Vanguard, we ended up running SMG Duo. So going into MW2, that was kind of the plan. Obviously, things changed on my end. But kind of MW2, you competed for the start of the year, so you want to talk briefly on kind of what that was like, and then, how all that ended up.
That was probably my worst. But granted, I was playing on 1,000 ping, 1,200 ping. And I'm playing on the PS4, so which this game can't really handle. where the PS4 can't really handle the game. And I was eventually, like, I had a couple S&D clutches, but I was eventually asked by Breach to step down. And I soon called my retirement almost right after. Help make content with Marksman and Breach, whether it be the podcast or the challenges, the 1v1 me bros.
Yeah, I was gonna say that is actually the next question of what we've done since we've all kind of retired as far as content goes. What's been your favorite piece of content that we've filmed or put into development so far?
So far, I'd probably say it's definitely between the challenges and the podcast. But I believe some other ideas that we have may take the cake. You know, but I can't really speak on that right now.
Yeah. For this next question, what has been your favorite Call of Duty of all time?
So I kind of have a three-way tie. If I'm being straight up with you, and it's really for different reasons for all three, but it's between BO2, BO3, and AW. Those are like my three favorite Call of Duties of all time. But as far as like, since I've competed, I'd definitely say probably Cold War. But that was also my most dominant.
Why do you keep making content? Like, what motivates and drives your contents?
So, to lead by example, as well as, you know, I believe in what we're doing, and I just want to put my best foot forward, my best effort forward, like I've done throughout my entire life.
All right, Dr. Ceej, the final question. What does the future hold for you?
I got two answers. Because, so, it's either I go straight into content within my personal content and the org content full on once I get this PC built. And I might try my hand at competing again. Or whether it be Call of Duty or a different game, really. Or I really delve into content strictly and, you know, get more involved in management stuff, just trying to expand the org and their influence. Just learn constantly and improve.
Is there anything you want to say to the fans of the org and of yourself? Any final words for them before the video ends and they get to go on with their day?
To my personal supporters, thank you for those who have stuck around. It's been a bumpy road. It's been tough. But I'm happy with how things have went so far. For the Villains fans, I really appreciate the support. Again, I know everyone within the org does as well. I believe y'all are the guys that keep us going. You know, we see that helps us see the potential in this, and just, you know, appreciate y'all for supporting the team and helping us bring the new generation of villains forward.
First step dead. I got my crews.